Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the High Level Spotlight Sessions. Today, I'm joined by Robb Bailey, which is super exciting because, Robb, I keep hearing your name come up over and over. I know that you're doing a lot of cool stuff, but I haven't gotten to talk to you yet. So, this will be the first time I get to hear about it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So, what's the 60-second origin story? Did you have an agency at one point and now you're sort of pivoting to help other agency owners? Do you still run an agency? Where are
Yeah,
you
good
at?
good question. So I had a seven-figure failure agency first.
Okay.
I had a typical jack of all trades agency. I just rewatched Joe's interview with you, which was great, by the way. And so that was kind of like my original origin story was I made what I consider to be the most common mistake an agency owner can make, which is try to do everything for everybody. I think
Yeah.
it's a cardinal sin at this point in the game. And you know, I don't tell anybody anything else but to niche down, choose a niche, and become a specialist. That's all I ever give advice wise on that front. So I made every mistake in the book with that agency, built it up seven
Hmm.
figures. My business partner got burned out in about 2 years, and by year three, I was burned out too. So we just looked at each other, said, "This isn't working. Let's shut it down."
Yeah.
Wasn't making any money. I mean, there's a lot of money coming in, but there was no profit left over. So I kind of went back to the drawing board and then started a Facebook ads agency that specialized in just one service. So I was having pretty fast success doing that. And then I decided to niche down and bring on a new business partner who was working in the gym that I went to work out. And he actually sold me my membership. And we kind of became quick friends, and
Hmm.
enjoyed talking about business and everything. But he was kind of like looking to get out of selling in gyms. He's been a sales director in gyms for like 10 years. And there just wasn't a whole lot more left for him to do there.
Right.
And so essentially I brought him on and we partnered up, and in 22 months, we helped 525 fitness locations. So we niched
Wow.
into the fitness niche. Yeah.
Okay.
And we did about 2.2 million bucks in service fees in 22 months. And then February of this year, I sold that agency.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, now I just jam hard on high level. I'm the loudest speaker in the room, you know, sometimes, and sometimes some folks are like, "God, would you shut up, Rob?" But if you guys only knew what our Scipio bill used to be, when we had our agency, it was
Right.
like $44,000 a month paying the Scipio for a few hundred
Wow.
clients was not fun. And this tool does, not only replaces Scipio, but does it better, does everything better. Just trust me on that one. And the bill is $300 a month. So
Yeah.
you better believe I'm in here screaming loud and proud.
Absolutely. We appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
So I know you specialize in a couple of things, and we talked about three specific ones. And the number one is reactivation campaigns. And I'm excited to talk to you about this because I think reactive, I was in running an agency for about 6 years, maybe longer. And reactivation campaigns, we always just overlooked it. Like it's such low hanging fruit, but to be honest, we hardly ever did them because we were just doing the thing that they bought, instead of like starting with that. So talk to us, first of all, what is a reactivation campaign?
Yeah, we call it database reactivation, but a reactivation campaign is just taking leads that did not turn into customers, or leads that have not been recently marketed to, that are in your client's database, and remarketing to them, essentially. Most small business owners think just like how you described,
Hmm.
you thought of as an agency. It's just like, well, I need new leads because the old ones, either bought or didn't, but now I need, more sales.
Yeah.
And especially like in a lot of the consumer-based niches like fitness, health, beauty, it's so easy to get somebody to re-raise their hand, and people are so busy nowadays. They just need to be marketed to in a way that's not very douchey, and in a helpful way, basically a consultative or helpful way,
Hmm.
and just get them re-engaged and back in the game, and have the client's brand or service back in their frontal vision. And we've had great success doing that with text message. um, and I'm a believer that, like, if the business that you're dealing with has acquired that list ethically, there's just no better channel right now on the planet than text messaging them to reactivate them. So that's kind of
How do you approach it? Because I feel like it can be kind of messy, right? A lot of businesses are really unorganized. So when you go in, do you say, okay, let's sit down and show me, where do you have information? Like, do you
yeah.
go through people's Gmails and scrape stuff out of there?
No, I mean most businesses, if they've been open for a little while,
Hmm.
they'll have an actual database in their CRM. A
Okay.
lot like, in HighLevel, you've got a contacts button.
Hmm.
Most small businesses have something, and if they don't have a CRM, what I found is they have the list somewhere, they just don't think about it right away. So rather than having them go through their Gmail um, contacts or something, I always ask them to pull like a QuickBooks report and be like, look, all of your customers are somewhere. They're in a digital record somewhere. They kind of have to be
Yeah,
nowadays.
good point. Yeah.
And so I'll just have them export a list of all their past customers, or anyone they ever sent an invoice to, or anyone who's ever been on their newsletter, right? So sometimes you have to prod a little bit, but I would say 95% of the time, small business owners like, oh yeah, well, do you want like all my active customers or my prospects and active customers? And that's usually a pretty easy conversation to have. It's not
Right.
tough.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you could probably, now that I think about it, just going back into WordPress sites and exporting forms like from,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The very beginning.
yeah. Quick questions, you can find it easy.
Yeah, that's a great point. So you go in, you say, hey, let's just come up with a quick, easy offer. I'm going to get this out to all the people that you haven't talked to in 5 years, 4 years, whatever it is, and talk about the results. I mean, I know typically what percentage do you see of people will re-raise their hand that have just been sitting dormant?
Yeah. So we've helped a ton of high level users with this, by the way, in all different kinds of niches. And the results do vary based on
Mhm.
the niche and the recency of the list and things like that. But in fitness, helping 525 locations that almost all look the same, like from a business model standpoint.
Mhm.
And so we were able to eliminate a lot of variables and get really good at like expecting a certain result. And so when we were doing this, for our clients, we were getting between 2 and 10% of their database to raise their hand and make an appointment. So that means, and the response rate was much higher than that, like 30 or 40%, somewhere in that
Mhm.
range. But, so great response. Is very tough to do that with email or even phone calls nowadays. And then the 2 to 10%, I mean, it might not sound very like exciting, but some of our gym clients had 10,000 people on their database, and we got them 450 appointments over three
Yeah.
months, you know?
I, 10%, I mean, even 5% is fantastic. 5% of people that were just nothing
They're
before.
sitting,
So,
yeah, they're sitting there. It didn't cost you anything to send out a text,
and that's
like,
the most beautiful part, right? It costs you nothing. You're just digging up old leads or old customers and
yeah.
having them come back in.
I mean, to get 450 Facebook leads from an ad, would be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So, what we found was like we could get pretty predictable results with that, and that would be the
Hmm.
first thing that we'd sign a client, and that would be the first thing that we did. They'd have like their onboarding call within 24 hours, and then the next day we would schedule their first database reactivation batch, and we break it up so they don't get killed, like
Yeah.
all. But we would, start booking appointments for them right away, and they loved it. I mean, they paid us about 3 times as much as anybody else in the marketplace, and
Hmm.
that was the biggest reason why.
That's fantastic. So I know the other another of your specialties is nurture, right? So the art of the nurture.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to talk to you about this because as Abby and I have been building these industry snapshots to make available to people, we keep telling people, hey, this is something to start with, right? Like there's a campaign in there that has, I don't know, 3, 5, a mix of email, text message, or whatever, but you might want to add way more. You might want to do less. I mean, nurturing is definitely an art. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts about, what makes a great nurture.
Sure. So I'll tell you what the bird's eye view key is, like the
Hmm.
key to all this, and then we can, dive into the details if you want. But really the key is to map the customer journey. So, you can't think about what sounds good to you or what sounds good to the business owner. You really
Hmm.
have to understand what their customer wants out of this whole thing, right?
Hmm.
And so most of the time, the biggest thing that I see folks doing wrong when they do this is they go, "Oh, I'm just going to push out a 50% coupon because that sounds pretty good," and they don't take the time to research
Hmm.
and look, which doesn't take long, 15, 20 minutes,
Sure.
uh, to see what people actually want. Like one of my favorite ways to do this for fitness, health, and beauty niches is just to go to something like Groupon, right? Because right there for free in real time, you can just look up and see what people are already voting for with their wallets,
Mm-hmm.
because it will say, hey, Groupon, this Groupon offer for this gym at 1,000 bought at, whatever it is.
Sure.
So like, and, so it really doesn't take a whole lot of effort or smarts or specialized knowledge to do that. It just, you just do it. And
Right.
that cuts out all of this trial and error. Okay, I think I know what they want, but thinking I know what they
Yeah.
want is going to,
Yeah.
you're going to
Let
have
the
to,
market tell you what the offer should be. Okay. That's a good tip.
yeah. And so, it's a little tougher for things, or it's a little less fun, I guess, for things like the legal niche or like maybe mortgage or
Mm-hmm.
insurance quotes or whatever. But that's what you have to do. I mean, there's a reason why all the ads for insurance out there say get a rate quote. That's because that's what people want, is they just want to get a
Right.
rate quote or save money or whatever, right? So that's the first step, and that's the killer mistake that I see almost everybody making. But as far as what you put in the actual campaigns, there's a couple of things that I think most people skip that are really important. Number one, they don't think about it as the most intimate place on people. Like, I've got my wife and kids on my cell phone. So if you're
Yeah,
going to be
exactly.
text messaging me and this comes through, you really want to be careful not to just be like steamrolling me, because it's the
Yeah,
fastest way for
definitely.
me to be turned off, right? So we always write it sort of like how it would be talking to a friend almost, or texting a friend,
Mm-hmm.
in tone and in texture and all that stuff. And then we just really try to make it easy for them to raise their hand and say, yeah, I want that. So the initial text message that we send out in a reactivation campaign, for example, would say something like, um, hey, Chase, this is Rob down at robsawesomegym.com. We haven't seen you here in a while. I've got a few free 10-day passes left here at the front desk. Let me know if you want me to reserve one for you, Rob.
Yeah, that's pretty casual and pretty cool.
Right? And I literally just gave you guys, that's what we used across 525 locations, worked fantastic, got that 2 to 10% appointment booking ratio. And all they'd have to do is say, yeah, great. Or yes, can I bring a friend?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, great. If you book an appointment with me here today, I can throw in another one for your friend and reserve it for her too. What's her name? You know? And it's just very easy. And like, I swear to you, people, they so badly underestimate how awesome that is for the customer, because you're rolling the red carpet out. You're not being a douchebag about it. You're basically giving them something you already know they want.
Yeah.
It's so
And you
easy.
subtly created scarcity too. You're like, hey, I have a
Yeah.
few of these laying around. Like, I could get you one if you want it.
Yeah. 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 And
I like
so
that.
there's a lot of things. I mean, we spent tons and tons of hours, and Haplin, who's on my team, he's our product developer,
Okay.
and he has spent, I think he's probably personally booked over like 30,000 appointments doing
Mm-hmm.
this. And he's responsible between our team and, helping our clients and everything for probably something like 300,000 text messages. We tried to put a number on it, but it's kind of hard to.
Yeah.
Um, and so he's literally obsessed with like, what's the most output that we can get for as little
Mm-hmm.
input as possible, and do this in a very scalable way,
Yeah,
and do
that's
it to
great.
where, yeah, because the thing that people dismiss right away is like, well, I have to sit there and text message back and forth with them. And it's like, dude, this is so stinking easy compared to getting a sales opportunity any other way.
Totally.
So much easier. Like, it's just like, so you're saying you're not going to dedicate some of your day or your team's resources or your clients' resources to this just because you have to write somebody back like a human would? Like, come
Yeah.
on, man. If it's worth 500 appointments to your clients over the next 3 months, you should both be jumping up and down. And it's this easy. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly, so
Let me ask you a question. So that was a really great example, and thank you for sharing that. As far as a reactivation outreach, when we're talking about lead gen, right? Let's say we're running an offer on Facebook, somebody's claiming that offer. Okay, so you've claimed an offer. The next step is to come and show up, like book something.
yeah.
What would be your thoughts on that initial nurture of how long you should try to get them to book before you kind of back off? Like, I had a conversation earlier, and it was like, hey, I want like 18, I've got like 18 days of texts and emails built up. Do you think that's too much? And I'm like, well, it's different for everyone, but my approach is just mix the messaging and, don't be douchey about it. But yeah, that might be a little much. So like,
Yeah.
what would your advice be in that scenario?
Yeah. So, in the fitness niche, our approach was to send them one text message per quarter. And if they
Okay.
never responded, we did not bug them again about it.
Oh, so
Um,
that's very kind.
yeah, yeah. Because if we do this right, the other thing that we did that was a bit of a like not a secret, but like a secret sauce sort of thing
Mhm.
was we would encourage them to bring a friend in as well and turn one lead into two.
Hmm.
And so, that would further grow their database. And, um, like if that person for some reason didn't come in at that time or missed their appointment or whatever, we'd still had a chance to remarket to them next quarter, for example. Right.
Sure.
And so, we had clients that we never had to turn a single ad on because their database was so big. We were, like 10,000 is a lot. If you're getting a 10% response rate, it's like a ton actually.
Yeah.
And so like if we're getting 5 or 6%, the 10,000 person database, that would take us all quarter to get through. And then we just go back to the beginning of the list and text message those people again. And we just keep
Wow.
going in a cycle. And so we never turned an add on for a client that were getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of appointments. And their database is slowly growing because we're getting people to bring friends with them, the leads who
That's
do.
really interesting. Yeah. So
Yeah.
zero ad spend, just a virality component in there of, hey, recommend a friend or whatever, and we can get them a pass too.
Yeah.
Genius.
So,
Wow, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah. And it's like the database will never burn out that way either. I'll go to the other extreme, which is like we're sort of over here, very conservative and very, thinking long term,
Safe. Yeah.
but safe. Yeah. Over here, I've talked to people who've done this very successfully, in like the legal niche, for example, where it's so competitive, like, or with folks who are using like lending tree leads, where the lead is being sold to like 10, 15, who knows how many
Yeah.
other businesses. And so the key is the most aggressive person in follow-up typically wins.
Hmm.
And it's a long sales cycle. So this goes back to the whole, mapping the customer user experience. Again, you have to understand what's happening to them and where their head is at and everything. And in those cases, folks just get, perpetually followed up with until they say, I'm going to book an appointment, or take me off your list. I no longer need this, kind of thing, you
Yeah.
know? So I think you just really have to map it to what the customer journey is or the client journey. And then, put yourself in their shoes for a minute to really understand this whole concept. And then you can do
Yeah.
this well for any niche,
I like
but
that tip about putting yourself in their shoes and keeping it casual. I mean, that's one thing that I always recommend too, is at some point, at least have one really casual outreach that might just be like, hey, I noticed you haven't done this yet or whatever. Can I answer any questions for you? And a lot of times you'll just get like a random question back and it's like, oh, wow, that's what the hang up was. That person just was wondering this one weird thing. And, so sometimes switching up the tone and just being like, hey, how can I help you, can go a long way.
yeah. Or if you've ever read the book, Thank You Economy by Gary Vee,
Yeah.
just sending a meaningless, like from a business development standpoint, a meaningless thank you, right?
Mm.
Hey, just want to say thanks for being a customer. Hope you're having a great day. Anything, let me know.
Yeah.
I mean, that would go so far, and people just,
Totally. It's like
wow.
out of left field, like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay.
I got a text message at a hotel that I just checked into. I was at a speaking gig at a conference, and which I don't do very much of at all, and I'm not very good at, so I was nervous. And I got there, and after checking in, and I went to my room, I got a text message from the concierge saying, "Hey, welcome. If you need anything, just reply back." And it was super useful and nice. And I just had to tell him, I was like, "That is so uncommon and so super nice that you did that. Like, thank
Yeah.
you."
Yeah, it
And
makes a big difference. It goes a long way.
yeah. So it's just like, to me, it kind of always goes back to that. But, sometimes people get a little too heady with the marketing or aggressive, or they're just like, oh, short term, I'm desperate for results, And I think long term, that's the wrong way to think about it. You really need to think about, what's going to get the best results at scale, which means what does the customer want? And
Hmm.
then how can we scale it on our end, which is the other piece of this whole thing, so that you can go out and make money and, sell lots and lots and lots of clients of service.
Yeah. So I know that your other specialty is Facebook ads. Give us a tip. What are you seeing? What trends? What do you like? What would you say to somebody who's new to running ads for customers?
As an agency owner,
Yeah.
yeah. I would say if you can nail this is the biggest key, I think, with Facebook ads, especially for people in this community, because you have the tool, like that. You don't need to be an expert wizard at running Facebook ads if
Mhm.
you nail the nurture part of it first.
Mhm.
What I mean by that is, like, I actually have a video all about this, about like how it broke down for us. But when I was helping clients with Facebook ads, that, you know, there were in all different kinds of niches and even some other gyms that did not have any lead nurturing in place.
Right.
We would get, for every 100 Facebook ad leads, we would get, the client would get like 2 to 10 people to show up from those leads, right?
Okay.
And that's with no lead nurturing in place, because we were saying, hey, that's your responsibility, Mr. Client. You got to call them or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's on you. But do the follow up to get them in. Like, that's the only way these leads are going to come in. Of course, they would never do it.
Of course.
and you know, in most cases, what I found is that's totally like unreasonable for you to expect them to. Like, very few gyms, for example, have a dedicated front desk person who's sitting there with the sole intent of following with leads every day. They've got a million things going on.
No business does, you know?
Yeah, no business. Yeah. But it's so crucial and so important. So, you know, when we switched to doing the lead nurturing for our clients, those same 100 Facebook ad leads, we would get about 70% of them to book an appointment, because automation and follow-up happened right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then about 70% of those people would actually make it in the location. If you do the math on that, it's about like 49-ish shows, right?
Okay.
49 to 64 shows. So big difference between 2 and 10 people coming from your 100 leads, and
Absolutely.
49 and 64 people coming in from your leads, right? So even a crappy salesperson, like if the client is not good at sales, just the sheer volume of opportunities that they were getting, they're going to get lucky and get some yeses from your service then, right? So I've got a little video on all this and stuff, but it's basically like, you can afford to pay 3 to 5 times as much for the ads and still get a better result if you have the lead nurturing thing down. That's dramatic. It makes running ads dramatically.
That's a great point. So even if you're new at running ads, you don't have it down to a science yet, you can make up for that with great nurture, because you'll convert those. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so I always prefer to look at it that way first and go, how can I get the lead nurturing thing sorted out first? And then I can be just okay at ads and it'll still do great. It'd be a great return on investment for my client.
Interesting. So Rob, when we roll out the marketplace, you get in there, what are you going to be offering to the community members? I know that people can pay you for services. What are you doing for other community members right now?
Yeah, absolutely. They just started to mow the lawn outside my office, so let me know if that gets...
Oh, no, I can't hear it at all, actually.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we actually we helped Sean and Robin launch HighLevel. I think we were like the first channel partner, if you want to call us that. But, you know, we've been running events since January, and, you know, that partnership has really taken off. And so at the beginning, we were just like, hey, we'll install our proven appointment booking campaigns for you. And we still do that today. But the program over the past like year or so has just gotten so much better. So it's about half people who had never heard of HighLevel, and half people who are like in the HighLevel Facebook group, and then somehow they hear about us and they're like, yeah, I want that kind of help, right?
Gotcha.
But basically what we've found is that, you know, folks really need something other than a blank starting blank canvas when they log in. And so what we've done is we've created a bit of a campaigns download section similar to what you guys have, but we actually have the Facebook ads portion in there now too.
Nice.
So we've got a program where we will install all of our proven follow-up campaigns and templates, but now we've got Facebook ad templates, landing page templates, like everything you would need to run the exact same playbook that we did at our agency. And so,
yeah, that's great. And this is perfect timing, because somebody was just saying, hey, are these industry snapshots you're making, are they proven? And I was like, no, they're just suggestions, like you definitely need to make it your own and everything. But you're saying you have proven ads that people can download and get started with, which is great. Cool. So where do people go if they want your help?
Yeah, sure. So you can go to robbbailey.com, and there's 3 B's in there. So it's ROBBBAILEY.
Yeah, I'll put that on the screen and in the description too.
Yeah, perfect. And then it's /NC. The program is called Nurture and Close. So it's just robbbailey.com/NC, and I'm sure you'll, put it.
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
All right, awesome. So everybody's got the link now. Rob, thanks so much for joining us. I think that was really insightful, and I think that's going to help a lot of people.
Awesome. Happy to help, man.
Yeah, thanks again for joining us. We'll see you soon in the community, and we'll see everybody else on the next video.
All righty. See you, man. Thanks, Chase.
Bye.